Hello, this is part 2 of my bookshelf tour.
Okay, this is the 5th shelf. So I have The Prince and Other Writings by Niccolo Machiavelli. I have Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith in a Harvard classic. This is from 1909. I have On Democracy by Robert A. Dahl. Anti-Capitalism by Simon Tormey. Orientalism by Edward Said. The Rich Nations and the Poor Nations by Barbara Ward. The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking by Susan Cain. The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan. Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. The Underground Storyteller by Alex Day. Stephen King, On Writing, A Memoir of the Craft. 19th Century Philosophy by Patrick Gardner. And 18th Century Philosophy by Louis White Beck. Hegemony and Socialist Strategy Towards a Radical Democratic Politics by Ernesto Lecoq and Chantal Mouffe. Utopia by Thomas More. Walden and Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. On War by Raymond Aron. Why Not Socialism by G.A. Cohen. The Story of Philosophy by Will Durant. Lament for a Nation by George Grant. The Defeat of Canadian Nationalism. It's part of the Carleton Library series. Village in Crisis by Peter R. Sinclair and Kenneth Wethuse. Up here we have Irwin and Irwin Revisited by Samuel Butler. It's a modern library edition. I also have Feminism, Modern Ideologies by John Charvet. And The Great Political Theories, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Michael Curtis. Emile, Julie and Other Writings by Rousseau. The Social Contract and Discourses by Rousseau in An Every Man's Library edition. J.S. Mill, Utilitarianism, Liberty, etc. in An Every Man's Library edition. Okay, on the 6th shelf I have The Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test by Tom Wolfe. Revolution for the Hell of It by Abby Hoffman. Steal This Book by Abby Hoffman. The Autobiography of Abby Hoffman. To America with Love by Anita and Abby Hoffman. And Square Dancing in the Ice Age by Abby Hoffman, which is a library discard I ordered online. Then I have this book by Pierre Valliere. It's from the 1960s. It's an interesting book. Rules for Radicals, A Pragmatic Primer for Realistic Radicals by Saul Dielinski. Power Systems by Noam Chomsky. Volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Karl Marx's Capital. The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Karl Marx's Interpretation of History by M.M. Bauer. The People's Platform by Astra Taylor. Ideology and Ideological State Apparatuses on the Reproduction of Capitalism by Louis Althusser. Mortar, Revolutionary Journal of Common Cause Anarchist Organization, Volume 2. I had this given to me. It's not something I would have picked up on my own. The answer is no. Voice of Pipeline Resistance, edited by Paul Bowles and Henry Veltemeyer. I had to purchase this for a public policy course I took in 3rd year. Taking on the System, Rules for Radicals in a Digital Era. Michael Ignatieff, Fire and Ashes, Success in Politics and Failure. This is Ignatieff's memoir. For those of you who don't know, Ignatieff is the former leader of the Liberal Party here in Canada. Building the Orange Wave by Brad Levine, with a foreword by Olivia Chow. The inside story behind the historic rise of Jack Layton and the NDP. Olivia Chow, My Journey. This is Olivia Chow's memoir. She ran for mayor of Toronto in the last mayoral election. She was also the late Jack Layton's wife. The longer I'm Prime Minister, Stephen Harper in Canada, 2006 to hopefully 2015, by Paul Wells. Tragedy in the Commons, former members of Parliament speak out about Canada's failing democracy, by Alison Lote and Michael Macmillan. I haven't read this one yet, but it's on my summer reading list. Imperialist Canada by Todd Gordon. The Empire Within, Post-Colonial Thought and Political Activism in 60s Montreal by Sean Mills. And All I Know Now by Carrie Hope Fletcher.